You're pregnant. What? No, I'm not. How could I if we never? I gasped as I realized that the day we made love, we hadn't used protection. I was too young to become a parent. How far? My voice shook. 1 month. Tears sprung in my eyes. I had been asleep for an entire month with a baby inside me. Our baby is healthy and perfect, Luke whispered gently as he placed a hand on my stomach. Because of how powerful we are, the baby had to develop a bit longer than an average werewolf, but still faster than a human birth. I nodded my head as I placed both of my hands and laid them on top of Luke's hand. Our baby, I breathed out in shock. My stomach had a barely there bump where the baby rested. Yes, ours. But Jenna, you may have taken these news calmly, but I'm sure the next one will have you devastated. What? I asked quietly. Luke tilted his head to the side to avoid eye contact, but left his hand on my stomach. As the minutes passed, my heartbeat increased. Trey is dead. No, I whispered in pain. No, I yelled as tears cascaded down my face. Not him, please. It's not true. Trey! Trey! I screamed in agony. Jenna, calm down. Luke yelled in panic. I couldn't, though. Trey was dead, and it was because of the hunters. Trey, I sobbed. Why did you have to go? Trey was dead, and he wasn't coming back. Like, Trey is dead. He's never going to hug me or call me his baby sis. He won't pull his tricks and fight with me. I had been crying for the whole day, and today I was going to finally be able to leave this room. If you didn't know already, the room I had been in for the past month during my coma was in Luke's pack house. Trey, why did you have to go? You were too young. Please come back. I'll be good to you. I won't be a bitch, and I won't pull pranks at you ever again. Just please, come back. I yelled, sobbed uncontrollably while hugging one of Trey's shirts tightly. Jenna, calm down. Luke burst in through the door in fright. Fright of me. He was scared I would hurt myself or do something stupid. No, I screamed as Luke tugged the shirt away from me. Jenna, stop this right now. I dropped the shirt as fast as lightning and scooted as far as I could from Luke. Never in my life had I ever heard him so angry. I looked up to meet his eyes, and his eyes were pitch black. He stepped in front and raised his hand. Just that look and movement brought back many memories. I did what I used to do. I lifted my arms up in protection as if he would hit me. I closed my eyes shut and waited for the impact. Jenna, he whispered painfully. Opening my eyes, I met his controlled dark eyes. Pain and regret flooded through his eyes. I wasn't going to hit you. Why would I? You're my mate and you carry our child, he spoke. I lowered my arms and jumped into his. I'm sorry. It's just with the whole baby and Trey. Things for me are not good right now, I mumbled into his chest. I felt him caress the back of my head. It's all right, Jen. I overreacted foolishly, and I shouldn't have. Your hurting is hurting me too, just so you know. It is hard to have the love of your life crying and not being able to do anything to make it go away, he softly whispered as he kisses the top of my head. I love you. I love you too, and Luke? I asked. Yeah? Can you get Blake? I could feel Luke's confusion and jealousy. Okay. Without another word, he left. Trey's shirt was still sprawled on the floor, so I picked it up and crushed it against my chest. I miss you. Jenna? I wipe away a single tear and look at Blake standing by the doorway with Luke. He notices my state and rushed over to me. Sit, I motion to the floor. I sit down with him, and from the look of it, he knows exactly how I feel and what to do to make me feel better. He reaches my hand and holds it. I intertwine our hands and shoot him a small smile. He flashes one back to me, and I turn to Luke, who stood slightly jealous at the doorway. Luke, can you go? I ask politely. Luke's facial expression immediately changes into a neutral one, and he glares at Blake and I's conjoined hands. Fine, he spat and stormed out of the room. I let out a sigh and placed my head in my spare hand. Don't worry, Jen. His wolf is just jelly of you being with me, Blake smiled comfortingly. I giggle, and in return, Blake gives me a look that read, "Dafook." Just his face made me laugh harder. Jelly, really? I laugh loudly. Well, yeah, you know jelly for jealous. I cut him off by punching his arm lightly. And that's why I love you, Blake. I smile hugely, forgetting about Trey for a minute. Oh, I love you to Jen. He screams and tackles me down to the floor. Get off, you fat ass, I yell as I wail my arms crazily underneath him. Nope, it was then it hit me. The position we were in. He was straddling me, and I was officially pinned down with no escape. Blake, no, I trailed off. Too late. His eyes full of mischief stared deeply into mine. I started to wriggle underneath his grip as he tickled me. Help, someone. Blake, stop, I yelled in between laughter. Yo, what's happening here? A voice broke our fun. We both faced the intruder. Randy! Blake and I screamed in unison. Follow my lead, I tell Blake through MindLink before getting out of Blake's grip and running up to Randy. I bow down to his feet and hug his legs. Hug his Landy. My idol, my hero. Can I have an autograph? I fangirl. Oh my fucking gosh, it's Randy. The Randy. Holy fudgesicles. I have to get my friend here. Zacharina, get your ass here now. The Randy has come. Blake stopped fangirling in a high-pitched voice and spoke normally. Wait. Hold up, backtrack that. Don't think wrongly, you naughty children. I meant come as you know, come here. Wait, that's not right either. Maybe if I say. I cut off Blake's rant by placing a hand on his mouth. Just stop. You're embarrassing yourself even further, and we don't want that. Blake pouted, and I placed a small kiss on his nose to cheer him up. I then jumped in his arms, and luckily he caught me. He adjusted me so I had my legs wrapped around his waist and my arms on his shoulders. He spun me around in circles. I laughed happily and held on tightly. I could feel Randy and Blake's happy vibes and knew they were enjoying me being happy since a long time. At some point, Zach came in the room and jumped on Randy's back. Switch! I yell and hop off of Blake only to climb on Randy's back. Dance, piggy dance, I giggle. Okay then, Randy mutters and spins me around. I could feel joy circulating us as Blake and Zach play around also. Switch! I yell once again after I felt dizzy. Blake decided to carry me bridal style while Randy held Zach like a baby. Just the sight of it made me almost fall off of Blake. Luckily, though, Blake had fast enough reflexes and hoisted me upwards as I wrapped my arms tightly around Blake. Commence my royal subject, I order Blake in a manly voice. Blake laughs and buries his head in my neck. Weirdo. He blows on my neck, which makes me shiver. That tickles. I giggle softly as I start to yell for him to spin me faster. You're too fat. Blake pretends to break a sweat. I slap him on his face and he loses balance, making both of us crash to the floor. I shrieked, fearing for my baby, but that wasn't needed when Blake flipped us over, so I was on him. At some point, I had closed my eyes, so when I opened them, I was an inch distance away from Blake's lips. His breath was heavy and mixed with mine. It just had happened that Luke walked in, and you will not believe what he did next. Even I was left frozen. What the hell? I come in here to check if my mate is all right, and I see her getting it on with her ex. Unbelievable. I would have never taken you as someone who would cheat. He stared deeply at me with something I wish I had never wanted to see again in his eyes. Disgust. I flinched. No, Blake, you don't understand. He was just fulfilling the needs of a hormonal bitch. No need to finish that sentence. I felt like crying again as the impact of Trey's death and him hit me full force. This seemed to make him smirk as the next words he spoke broke my heart. At least now I know that you have been behind my back screwing your former alpha and boyfriend. How pathetic, he spat. Blake and the guys were now standing protectively around me and growling menacingly at Luke. I want you out of here, Jenna. Get out and don't come back. I was wrong with you. How do I even know if that child is mine? Leave and don't come back. My heart felt like it had just been broken in a million pieces and stomped all over. I pushed off of Blake, and since Luke was at the door, I jumped out a window that was in the room. Glass shattered everywhere, and some even impaled into my arm, seeing as how I held it over my stomach. I shook it off the most I could and dashed into the woods. No, I won't come back. If that's what Luke wants, then so be it. But believe me when I say that I will return for Trey and the guys and go back to where I belong. Where my real family is, and I'm not planning to come back. Because if he truly did love me, he wouldn't hurt me so badly. I'm just glad he never marked me, or else I wouldn't be able to stand the pain of being away from my mate. You want me gone? Fine then. But the moment you tore me out of your life is the moment you left me with our child alone. Luke hurt me for the last time. I thought it over and I say no. He can't drive me away from my own home. He can hurt me, call me names, torture me. It doesn't matter. What matters is that this is my home. Jared is here and he is my actual brother. Sure, the guys will have to leave soon, but for now, this is my home. I was born here and raised. My parents were the Alpha and Luna of the Greenwoods pack, and I will not be a coward and leave. If it means to face Luke every day with a different girl, then so be it. Colpit time lapse. Last night, I had discovered a little cave and decided to sleep there for the night. It wasn't as painful as I would have thought, but that doesn't mean it wasn't oh so comfortable. Today, I was going to head back and pack all my things from Luke's room. I was to move to Jared's pack house and have a room there. At least, I would be accepted there. Not only that, but Trey's funeral was today in the afternoon, and I was going to be there. As I near the pack house, I start to hear a commotion. It's your fault. She left because of you, and we don't know when she'll be back. I stood by the edge of the woods and stared wide-eyed as Randy went off on Luke. Out of all people, he was the one who stood up to Luke. Calm down, dumbass, and she'll be back, Luke calmly spoke, but I thought I could hear a small bit of anger and jealousy. I shook my head and brought in the tears, willing to spill. I'm right here, Randy, I whisper loud enough for him to hear. I could feel gazes on me, and one especially glared at me. Oh, thank God. I was immediately enveloped in a warm hug and knew it was Randy right away. I ran far from here and found a cave. It looked inhabited, so I slept there for last night. I just came to get my stuff and move in with Jared, I whispered. It didn't matter, though. I knew everyone present could hear me. In case you didn't know, the people present was Luke, the guys, and Jared, who was fuming in anger. Come on, Jen. Zach came up and wrapped an arm around me. That's when I couldn't take it anymore. I burst into tears, and as my knees gave out, Randy held me up. It's all right, Jenna. We're here for you and your baby, Blake spoke softly to me. He gently kissed my forehead and lifted me up bridal style. I buried my head in his chest as I wanted no one to see me at my worst. There was no way that Blake and I could not look like we are dating. It's not possible. We will always be closer than anyone else, and no one can change that. Yes, we had some past together, but I have changed and I have grown up to become who I am now. I'm not a slut or a whore. I'm a human. Well, werewolf, actually. But I'm human is what I mean. I'll make mistakes, and you can't judge me for that. Everyone makes mistakes, and we can't control it. As Blake sets me down and leaves to get his clothes, I pack. Luke stares at me intently from the doorway. Doing my best to not snap my mouth, I clench my jaw and throw all my clothes in the suitcase messily. I carefully get up, and as I'm about to walk, I don't realize I had stepped on a shirt, making me slip. I quickly place my hands on my stomach and wait for the impact, but it never comes. Slowly, I open my eyes and see Luke's dark orb staring back at me. He had caught me. He saved our baby and I from getting hurt. But was it for the baby and not me? I could feel the intense pull to Luke as he stared deeply at me with unreadable eyes. His arms wrapped around me in a tight grip weren't helping me think. I break away and I could swear I heard him whimper. No, it's my imagination, I speak quietly to Crystal. Are you sure? The thought made me pause. Was I sure? Did Luke actually mean what he said? After all, he never gets that possessive, and he looked a bit off. Something different. He's been acting more selfish and jealous. Could it have been that he still cares for me and someone is putting him up to this? What kind of question is that? He did what he did because he chose to do it. But then again, why would he have had caught me? As I opened my mouth to speak, Randy burst through the door. Get your hands off of her, you giant ass! All you have done is hurt her, and I am sick and tired of it. Jenna is a beautiful girl who deserves the best and not someone as stupid as you. By the end of his speech, Randy was fuming with anger, and his face was beet red. I yank away from Luke and ran to Randy, who looked ready to murder someone. Randy, chill. He just helped me from falling. I slipped on a shirt and was about to fall if it weren't for Luke to catch me. I try to reason. Is that true? Randy spoke aggressively. Luke shrugged and kept his passive face. Don't know and don't care. I have to go now. He spoke smirking and left the room with the smirk still plastered on his face. I couldn't believe it. I was utterly confused. Did he or did he not still love me? I was determined to find out no matter what. Randy, you should probably go out for a run and I'll finish packing, I suggested. Fine, he huffed before kissing my cheek and leaving the room. Not wanting to waste any more time here in this hellhole, I grab my suitcase and drag it to the same hallway where the guys and I had been staying at. I opened the door to my old room and right away started to pack away all my clothes. 15 minutes later. Phew, finally I can leave, I muttered as I cautiously got up without harming myself. Blake, can you come help me carry my bags down? I mind-linked. Yeah, I'm on my way. A few minutes later, Blake showed up and slung over my suitcase on his shoulder while wrapping his arm around my waist in a protective manner. No need to be so protective, I chuckled. I'm not 6 months pregnant, only one. Doesn't matter. I love you, and I want nothing bad to happen to the baby or you. He spoke calmly as he guided me outside and to his car. As Blake put the suitcase, I turned to give one last glance to the pack house I will not miss. My eye caught Luke's, and I could feel myself tearing up. His eyes were pitch black, but he made no attempt to communicate. I sighed in disappointment and made my way to the passenger seat. Blake finished putting away our suitcases and got in the car. Just as we were able to pull out, I heard Luke yell for us to stop. My eyebrows scrunched up in confusion, and I kept a puzzled face when Blake stopped the car. I won't hide it, but somewhere deep in me, I had a sliver of hope that he would apologize. What do you want? Blake hissed. Luke ignored him and pulled out a shirt. I noticed it was the shirt I had slipped on. You left this and I don't want it. I nodded my head shakily and reached for the shirt. I let out a small cry when my hand brushed against his, and he yanked away, warily glancing around. I got to go. He rushed out before sprinting away from the car. Crystal, why is he acting weird? I thought. I don't know. His wolf is blocking me out, but not in an angry way. It feels protective, she spoke softly and thinkative. Protective? Yeah, like he is shielding us from something or someone, but I don't know who. Wait, so you're telling me that he has been pretending to hate me for a while now? I scream mentally. I'm not sure. It feels like he is protecting us by hurting us, but I don't understand why. This is all strange to me. My head started to pound against my skull as I thought of Luke lying this whole time and was actually protecting me. Jenna. I slowly turned my head at Blake, who was looking scared. What? I asked quietly. What's wrong? You're acting really weird and quiet. Is something bothering you? Because I can. Before he could finish, I opened the car door, causing Blake to screech to a stop as I puked on the side of the road. I could feel a hand running my back soothingly as another hand held my hair up. Crystal, I need you to break through Luke's wolf's barrier, please, I begged. I'll try. I was about to tell her something else when I felt the urge to once again throw up. It's all right, Jen, Blake whispered as he wrapped his arm around me and lifted me from my slouched potion when I threw up. Blake went through his compartment and found some napkins in which he used to clean me up. I felt weak and vulnerable that I didn't mind. After he cleaned me up, he handed me a piece of mint gum, which I snatched out of his hand and chewed. He started to drive again. Oh, God. I don't think I can do this for another 6 months, I groaned. Well, look at the bright side. At least you won't do the full 9 months. Instead, you have to be 7 months pregnant. I don't care. It still sucks, I grumbled and placed my head on the car side window. Tiredness seemed to catch up to me, and I soon felt myself at peace. I was about to fully fall asleep when I heard a car screech, which was then followed by a scream that ripped from my lips. The last thing I saw was Blake being yanked out from the car as I was left in the car to be rammed into a tree. I acted upon it and tried to open the door, but it was locked. I panicked and moved to the back of the car while trying to cover my baby up the most so I would get the impact and not my belly. After that, everything turned black as I mind-linked for Luke to come help our child. Blake's POV. I was worried that Jenna would throw up again, so I pressed the gas pedal harder. I know it's not right, especially with a pregnant woman in the car, but I had to get Jenna somewhere safe. I have the feeling of something bad, and I can't exactly point it out. At some point, I had zoned out, because when I broke out of trance, a large truck was driving straight towards us. The problem was, though, that the person driving it was familiar. I squinted my eyes, and they widened as I tried to drive away. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the person driving the truck was the very own Carolyn Sweets. I spinned the driving wheel, but lost complete control. Before I knew it, I was driving straight into a huge tree. I was about to grab Jenna, but I was yanked out of the car and thrown to the floor. I looked up and saw a hunter. Shit! They had come back for revenge, and Jenna was still in the vehicle. Jenna! I yelled loudly and ran straight to the car. It was too late, though. The car was rammed into the tree, and it immediately started to smoke up, a signal of a fire catching. Just as I got close to the car, I was punched in the back of my head and shot with an arrow before falling unconscious to the floor. Last thing I remember doing was mind-linking the guys to help. Luke's POV. It frustrated me, how I was practically forced to stand by and watch my beloved mate be taken away from the one place she belongs, which is beside me. Blake was done putting up their suitcases full of their clothing and was getting ready to start the car. I could feel myself start to grow angry at the thought of never seeing Jenna again. With her good looks and amazing skills, she would for sure find someone to love her. Just the very idea of another male wrapping her around his arms while their little kids ran around made me clench the shirt I had in my hand that belonged to Jenna. It was the very same one she had slipped on and caught her from falling. "This is your fault. You made her go away?" my wolf, Reed, growled. "You know I had to," I spoke sadly. "I can't risk her and the baby." "I know, but it doesn't change the fact that we're hurting," my wolf whimpered. I sighed in annoyance of myself for letting this all happen. A week ago, I had been sent a threat stating that if I truly loved Jenna, to save her from getting killed by breaking her heart and having to see her leave me. I knew right away that it was the hunters, but what I didn't understand was how they were already back. I had killed most of them, and not to mention their leader was also dead. Had they gotten a new leader? How many of them were there? Will we have to fight them again? All these questions swirled around in my mind, creating a headache. No matter what was to happen, I had to do something first. I zoned back in and stared out the window to spot Blake beginning to drive out and leave. Without a second fight, I sped out the room and out of the pack house while chasing the now moving car. "Jenna," I yelled loudly. I could feel relief flood through me as the car screeched to a stop. "What do you want?" Blake hissed the moment he saw it was me. I ignored him and faced Jen. As I opened my mouth to apologize and explain everything, I took notice of her face and state. Her eyes were red and puffy while she had her hand rested protectively on her stomach. I felt my heart clench in pain as I saw sadness, pain, and determination in her eyes. I didn't know what the determination was all about, but I assumed it was for being determined to not allow anything bad happen to our child. I couldn't find it in myself to hurt her further, so with disappointment in myself, I pulled out her shirt that I still happened to have in my hand. "You left this, and I don't want it," I lied through my teeth. She shakily nodded her head and reached for the shirt. I had to resist from dragging her back with me as she brushed her hand against mine. She let out a small cry, and I yanked away, scared if I had hurt her or something. I warily glanced around, not wanting to face her. I got to go," I rushed out before sprinting away. "Her wolf is trying to come through and find out what's wrong," Reed spoke, slightly panicked. "Damn it. Block her wolf out. I can't have her suspecting anything. I'm not sure if there will be war again, and if there is, I don't want her to find out, because if she does, I know she'll want to fight, and there's no way that's going to happen," I told Reed seriously. "Damn right," Reed agreed. "Help Luke?" A faint voice broke through my barrier. I knew that voice. It was Jenna, and she sounded pained. It was then I felt a surge of pain rocket through my stomach. I bent over in pain and coughed violently. My vision was blurring up, but I shook my head, needing to save Jenna. "Shit!" I cursed out loud when I saw that I had coughed up blood. Something happened to Jenna. "All warriors come with me," I commanded as I mind-linked everyone. I stood up from where I was, and once every warrior was with me, I shifted into my black wolf and ram where Jenna's scent led me. It didn't take long before we reached the spot, and I felt myself howl in sorrow when I saw Blake's car crashed into a tall tree with fire all over it. Not far from her was Blake laying in a pool of his own blood. I ordered some warriors to take him back to the pack house and help him, while I made the others look for the hunters who did it. Meanwhile, I shifted human and broke off the car door. I felt myself fill up with fear as I saw Jenna sprawled across the back of the car with fire spreading around her. I clenched my jaw as I stepped in the car and got Jenna out. Ah! I screamed in pain as my right arm touched the burning metal of the car. The sizzling sensation was something of what I just deserved for letting Jenna go. Jenna, babe. I shakily placed my hand on both sides of her face. Her whole face and arms were covered in black ash and her hair was burnt short. The old long hair that used to pass her chest was now as short as to where it rested above her shoulders. Her eyes were closed shut and her jeans were pitch black. Jenna, I cried as I tried to feel a pulse. Another thing that was scaring me was how the baby was affected by the fire. I placed a hand on her stomach and placed a wet kiss on her burnt stomach. Don't leave me, Jen. Please don't. I said with tears falling off my face and onto her ruined shirt. I couldn't find a pulse and feeling terrified, I gently picked her up and ran as fast as I could back to the pack house. It had taken me at least 10 minutes to get back to the pack house, and by then Blake was resting and mostly healed. Help her! I yelled at the doctor with tears in my eyes. The pack doctor stared at Jenna's body in sympathy and began to work on her. You have to get out, Alpha. The pack doctor spoke sadly. No, I yelled wildly. Nurse, he spoke solemnly, and before I knew it, I was given a shot that would make me fall asleep. No, I murmured. Jenna, I whispered quietly before fully losing consciousness. Blake's POV. Blake, if you can hear me, then wake the fuck up. We need you right now. I heard a voice speak with concern. I groaned in annoyance and turned to my side. Just then, all the memories from a while ago hit me like a load of bricks. Jenna! I shot up in a jolt. I glanced around myself and saw Randy, Zach, and Luke. What the hell was this prick doing here? Why is he here? I growled menacingly, but then stopped when I thought of Jenna. Where's Jen? I asked worriedly as I stood up quickly and glanced around trying to find her. I sighed in relief when I saw her on the other side of the room. My relief didn't last long, though, when I realized that she was hooked up to a ton of IVs. Jenna, I whispered guiltily before rushing over to her side and grabbing her cold hand in mine. I'm sorry. I cried in sobs as I showered her whole hand in kisses. It's my fault. I should have stayed awake longer to rescue you, but those hunters, I growled lowly, got to me. After a minute of silence, I quietly spoke. What are you doing here? I directed to Luke without looking. She's my mate, and I deserve to be here. I cut him off by standing up from where I had kneed down on the ground to cry. How dare you say that you deserve to be here? I shouted in anger. You don't deserve her. All you have done is harm her, and I am tired of you blaming her for everything. She is mine, and you can't have her. I growled ferociously. All the guys froze and stared at me in disbelief and shock. Meanwhile, Luke was shaking in rage and his eyes were the color of a dark, stormy night. I had said it now, and I wasn't going to back down now. I still loved Jenna. When we dated, I was the happiest I had ever done, and the day she told me she didn't like me in a mate way, I felt my world come crashing down. But I didn't stop here, because as long as she was happy, I would be happy. That was until Luke had to win her over and take her from me. When she asked for me the other day, I felt overjoyed. Maybe somewhere deep in her heart, she truly loved me more than a brother or friend. That's why I am so possessive over her. I don't want her gone, and I didn't want her to feel guilty for my pain, so I acted to not love her for all these years. Truth is, though, I love her, and I wasn't going to let Luke take her away from me again. What did you just say? She is mine. Luke growled possessively and pushed me back with force. You heard me. I love her. I yelled as I felt my wolf surface. Why you? He was cut off by a punch to the face which popped his jaw to the side. Want to fight, pretty boy? Bring it on. I smirked. Luke touched his jaw and popped it back in place before lunging at me. I ducked and he ran into the wall. Is that all you got? I knew you sucked, but not this bad, I laughed coldly. Stay away from Jenna and me. He growled loudly before knocking me off my feet and kicking my side. My breath left me, and before I could react, he swung a punch across my face. My face turned to the side, and I could feel the metallic taste of blood fill my mouth. I spat blood on the floor and tackled down Luke. We rolled onto the floor and swung punches and kicks at each other. Never once did the guys decide to intervene. They knew it was personal and that I was right. Luke doesn't deserve her. She is too beautiful and smart to be with someone as unworthy and stupid as him. A surge of energy spread through me, and I kneed Luke in the balls before flipping him over and straddled him. I hate you so much. Stay away from Jenna. I spoke each word through the punches I launched at him in his face. By the end, my breathing was erratic, and I smirked smugly as I saw Luke's face swollen and his bottom lip bleeding. Stop! A voice shrieked. I turned to face Jenna's bed, where she now sat up looking tired and overwhelmed as she stared at me in horror. What did you do? She yelled with tears in her eyes. My smirk fell off my face, and I turned away from her in shame. I'm sorry. I clenched my jaw and fists. Luke. I looked up in alarm and got enough time to see the fist flying in my direction. I was too tired and late, so when the punch connected with my face, my head swooshed to the side and I glared at the wall before moving my head back and picking Luke up by his shirt. Don't ever touch me again, I spat before sending him flying across the room. Jenna released a high-pitched scream, and before I knew it, my face burned from the pain of her slap. Don't ever touch him again, she spoke with venom. I flinched and tried to explain. Jenna, he hurt you. You can't protect someone who hurt you, I reasoned with her. He had to do it for my protection, though, she whispered softly. What? I said with a puzzled face. He talked to me when I was out, and he explained how he had to do it for my protection. She smiled as she turned to face a beaten-up Luke. I could feel jealousy take over me, and the next thing I said was something I thought I would never have to say. I don't want to see you again, Jenna. I'm leaving and I'm taking the guys back. I don't think I can see you anymore for as long as I live. I love you too much, and it's hurting me to see you this happy with him. This is bye, and I hope I never see your face again, because if I do, I won't hold back. I spoke slowly and quietly before turning away from her and walking out the room. I could feel the guy's presence behind me as I walked out the pack house, and the moment I did, I punched a tree, causing it to snap and fall over. Fuck! Why, Jenna, why? I shook with sobs and tears. Blake calmed down. Randy placed a hand over my shoulder, and I took a deep breath and spoke calmer. Pack up. We're going home. Blake's povey. Wait, you were for real? Randy asked in disbelief as he took a step back from me. I didn't dare face my friends. I continued to stare directly at my bleeding fist from where I had punched the tree. Yes, I grit my teeth in annoyance. We are leaving by today, and I don't care what you guys have to say. I'm not staying here any longer. A sigh was heard, and soon after a different person spoke up. Okay, I know you don't like Luke, and Jenna is someone you're not going to see without saying something bad, so I'll agree to go back home. We were supposed to leave already anyways. Zach tried to reason. Thanks, I softly answered, still not wanting to face them. Blake, you know it's only going to hurt if you leave. Randy spoke in a cold voice. It's better than staying here and watching her with him, I hissed out before turning to face Randy. You think it's easy for me to stand by and watch the girl I love get taken away by a fucking prick who doesn't even treat her right? I yelled with tears in my eyes. It's not fair. It's not fair, I whispered the last part. I felt Randy place his hand on my shoulder, and I didn't bother to shake it off. Fine. We'll leave, but think about it, man. You're going to find your mate, and you may decline it right now, but we both know that the moment you find her, she'll be the one you actually love. I faced down at the floor and could hear them both walk away. I can't. Jenna is mine, I stuttered furiously as I clenched my hands in fists. No, I shook my head side to side as I thought of my true mate. I felt my wolf take control, and before I knew it, I shifted into my large, pure white wolf and dashed straight into the woods without telling the guys. Jenna's pove. He loves me, I shook as Luke held me tightly in a vice grip. I was shocked and both ashamed that Blake loved me. I thought he didn't like me like that. The reason I broke up with him was because I saw him as a brother, but now that I think about everything we did together, he probably thought I truly loved him. I have to talk to him, I spoke a bit more calmer. What, no? Luke practically yelled at me with rage. I glared at Luke. What do you mean, no? This is my decision and my brother out there. I'll do what I want to do. If I want to talk to Blake, I'll talk to him, I growled lowly. I understand how jealous he is, but I love Blake, brotherly, and I'm not losing him to something this stupid. Jenna, I don't care who he is to you. I said no, and by God you will not go, he smiled smugly. Don't think that I am fine and dandy for all the hurt you caused me. I spat, as his smile was replaced by a frown. I am going to find Blake and talk to him no matter what you say. You're not the boss of me, I concluded with a confident smirk. How about you backtrack and you stay here? He softly mumbled. Or how about not? I smile sarcastically before climbing out of bed and stretching out. As my bones pop back in place and about to take a step, Blake stops me. What the hell are you doing? I'm not letting you leave until you are fully rested and the baby is in perfect condition. I sighed in frustration and turned from him. Luke, the baby is fine and I am too. Just let me get Blake and I'll come back. I'm sorry, but no, Jenna. It's dangerous too. I cut Luke off by walking away. I was halfway out the door when he pulled me back. I said no, he growled. Luke, if you do not let me go and find my brother, in 5 seconds I'll have you on the floor, I seethed. Jenna, I can't. His voice was cut off by a groan coming out of his mouth. I had kicked him in the groin. I warned you. I scolded before leaving him on the floor in pain while I shifted and ran outside. Guys, where is Blake? I mind-linked Zach and Randy. I don't know, they spoke in unison. I felt like face-palming at that exact moment. Never mind, I'll find him on my own. I blocked them out before they could protest. Jenna! I heard Luke yell from behind me, and from the yell I could tell he was furious. I'd start running if I were you, Crystal smiled. Shut up, I growl. I start to take off into the woods, knowing Blake would be there if he wasn't with the others. Sniffing around, I felt his scent and barked in happiness as I chased him down. Jenna, get your hot ass back here! I heard Luke yell angrily before a rip in the air was heard and paws catching up to me. Not this time, I thought, and used my quickness to run to the spot where Blake should be. I shifted back into human and yelled for him. Blake, where are you? I screamed in frustration. Behind you, Crystal muttered and blocked me. I swiftly turned back and spotted Blake in his large wolf form in a sad posture. His blue-green eyes shone with tears, and his fur was slightly stained with dirt. Blake, I sighed with relief. Blake shifted back in the nude, but I didn't care. As long as he was all right, it was fine by me. I quickly ran up to him and hugged him tightly. Oh my God, I thought something bad happened to you. I softly whimpered and snuggled my head into his chest. Don't you ever scare me like that again? I continued on and stopped to realize I was crying. Hesitantly, I pulled away and stared up at him. His eyes were void of any emotion, and his facial expression was blank. I was about to open my mouth to ask what was wrong when he stared at me for a second and took a deep breath. Turning away from my eyes, he spoke coldly. I told you I didn't want to see you, Jenna. I gasped in pain and hurt. What? Blake, you're my broth. Don't you dare say brother, Blake cut in. My eyes began to water again. I'm sorry. I apologized with sincerity. I love you, Blake. I love you a lot, but not in the way as a mate. I love you as a brother, and I'm sorry for making you think we could be more than being friends. Jenna, Blake whispered, and before I could react, he crushed his lips against mine. My eyes were as wide as saucers as I stood frozen in place. He kissed me. Blake was kissing me, and I was just standing there and letting him. What was wrong with me? Push him away, Crystal yelled. My hands slowly began to move, and soon enough I pushed Blake away. Blake, my voice cracked. Why would you do that? I told you that I didn't love you in that way. I'm sorry, he stuttered before dashing back into the woods. Blake, I yelled loudly. My breath left my mouth the moment I got tackled onto the ground from my left side. Ow! I groaned as I stood up. I turned to the side and saw Luke. Rolling my eyes at him, I start to make my way in the direction Blake went. And where do you think you are going? Luke spoke through gritted teeth as he pulled me back from my waist. You idiot! Did you not realize I am pregnant and you could have hurt our child? I scolded him. I'm sorry, he pouted as he buried his face into my neck from behind. I sighed and stared at where Blake had left. He had said those two same words before he ran off. I have to go, I whimpered and pulled harshly away from Luke and shifted. Taking off, I could hear Luke mutter, not again, and shift after me. If this wasn't a bad situation, I would have found it amusing and funny. But sadly, this is real and I am in a bad situation, so there really isn't anything funny about it. Blake, can you please stop for 1 single second? Like, damn, chill for a minute. Stop running from your problems, I yelled through Blake's mind link. Blake skidded to a stop, and seeing as how I was right behind him, I ran straight into him, causing both of us to crash onto the ground. I shifted back and started to flail my arms around when I landed under Blake. Ugh! Blake, get your ass up, I whined. Blake laughed through our mind link, and I couldn't help but join in. Well, that was until Luke showed up. Get off, my mate, Luke yelled, overly possessive. Luke, shut up, I groaned. What? You yelled at me for hurting our baby when he weighs like a ton and he is laying on you. Luke yelled with his voice higher pitched. Oh shit, he's right. I scream and push Blake off of me. You could have hurt my baby, Blake, but seeing as how I love you, I won't yell, I smiled goofily. Fuck yeah, Blake smiled with some tears in his eyes as he shifted human. I didn't mind his naked body and just laughed awkwardly. Sue. Luke trailed off. Can you let us talk alone for a bit, please? I pleaded Luke. Fine, he groaned. But here. The next thing he did made me blush. He took off his pants that he had been holding on and tossed them at Blake. Blake caught it and put them on. Now can you go? I muttered with my face bright red. Yeah, but first let me have a small chat with Blake here. Luke spoke menacingly as he cracked his fingers and made his way over to him. No, just go, I gritted out in annoyance as I walk over to where a naked Luke stood and pushed him away from Blake. Fine, he muttered and shifted before leaving. I sighed in relief and turned to face Blake, who stood awkwardly. Blake, I begin. I know I keep saying this, but I truly do love you, but not in the same way you look at me. I see you as a brother who helped me throughout the worst times of my life, and I will forever be grateful for having someone like you in my life. But you have to understand that I can't be the one. That place is specially designed for your mate, and you may not hurt today or tomorrow, but just know that there is someone who was made for you. Blake stayed quiet all throughout, and after a while, he pulled me in a tight hug. Thanks, Jenna. I needed that. I'm sorry that I put you in this situation, and I promise I will never do it again. I know I have a mate out there, and no matter what I do, I will always only love one person, and that would be her. So thanks for practically lapping me with a wave of truth. And I just want you to know that there will always be a part of my heart that belongs to you, he whispered as he placed a small kiss on my forehead and stepped away from me. I felt guilt gnaw at me as I spotted a few tears in Blake's eyes, but I know it was for the best. I guess we have to head back now, I mumbled shyly. Blake let out a quiet chuckle and nudged me. Hey, stop acting so weird and let's go. I smiled slyly and pushed him away and yelled, Tag, you're it! Before shifting and running in the direction of the pack house. When we returned, we were bombarded with Zach and Randy, who looked highly relieved that Blake seemed fine. You guys scared us, Zach pouted while hugging me. I returned the hug and let out a small chuckle. Oh, Zach, what would we do without you? You guys would suck D's nuts, that's what, he snickered, but right afterwards whined in pain when I had slapped the back of his head. Sowie, Jen, he spoke with a puppy dog face. Get the fuck away, Zach. I smiled and pushed him away. I told the guys that I had to go talk to Luke, and they told me he was in his office. With a nod, I made my way into the pack house and thought of all that still needs to be done. I have to get marked, and after that, I have to officially join the Dark Moon Pack. But wait, what about Trey's funeral? The thought of Trey made me eyes start to sting of tears. No crying, Jenna. Trey would want you to be happy, Crystal whispered. Okay, I mumbled. I went past the halls and stairs in search of Luke to talk about Trey. Once I reached his office, I didn't bother to knock and just intruded. Lou. I was cut off by Luke's voice. Yeah, okay. Are you sure? Really? Okay, thanks for the notice. Bye. I stared at Luke, waiting for him to explain who he was calling. Jenna. Luke smiled widely to the point it looked a tad creepy. What? I asked, confused. They're dead. Who? I asked, getting closer to him. The hunters. A pack in Minnesota called, and apparently they found all the leaders of the hunters dead. There is no way anyone will dare to revolt and start another war. We are free, Jenna. No more hunters, he grinned. Oh my God, I whispered with tears of joy in my eyes. I jumped in Luke's arms and hugged him tightly. We can finally be at peace, I smiled. We stood hugging for at least 10 minutes before I pulled away and started talking business. Luke, we have to talk, I started. Okay, let's sit down. Luke spoke with a puzzled expression and sat down his chair while pulling me down with him. What did you want to talk about? He smiled softly while playing a strand of my hair. When is T-Trey's funeral? I stuttered. Today in the afternoon, Luke whispered and placed a kiss on my forehead. It's going to be all right, Jen. I want him to be alive. I want him to wake me up and pull pranks, I cried silently. I want him to give me life advice. I just want him back. Jenna, stop crying, please, Luke begged. I can't, I sobbed. Jenna Summers, quit crying. You are a strong woman, and Trey is probably up in heaven having the time of his life. He wouldn't want you like this. Luke chuckled as he thought of his last sentence. Really? I smiled through the tears. Really? Okay. I wiped away my tears and started thinking of Trey having a party in heaven. I burst in laughter at the thought. Luke joined me, and soon it was both of us laughing. Once my laughter sobered, I asked Luke my next question. Luke, can you mark me? What? Luke choked out. Never mind. I blushed and moved away from him. No, Jenna, don't run away from me. Luke spoke softly while grabbing a hold of my upper arm. Then why don't you want me? Is it because I'm not good enough for you? I cried. Luke gave me a shocked expression before it changed into an understanding. He let out a small chuckle and reached for me. Why are you laughing? I asked, starting to get angry. Because your mood swings are starting, he laughed. I stared at him blankly before hitting the back of his head. I hate you, asshole. I'm gonna be like this for a long-ass time, and it's your fucking fault. Luke opened his mouth to speak, but I continued to speak. Of course you don't. I threw my hands in the air. You're a guy, and all you guys do is stick that thing in your pants down another girl's pants and not think that, hey, I should be smart and use a condom? Don't want my girlfriend to get pregnant now, do I? No, you boys disgust me. I finished with a hand on my hip. By the end of my rant, Luke was staring at me with an expressionless look. Damn.